waiting for the light. Conservation Commission meeting, October 23rd, present are
David Neiman.
Nick Campusano.
Patty Gale, staff.
Jean Walker.
Chuck Freiberger.
Susan Tucker.
Amy Pollock.
Evelyn Miller.
Okay, and I think first on the agenda, we have Steve and Denise Langley. Potato Drive, map 5, lot 56, 56-1, and 56-5.
Here we are. I know that it's been a while, but I think you're familiar that we're trying to relocate the existing conservation easement that exists close to the cul-de-sac at Tatro Drive. And I think that most of you are familiar with it, went out and looked at it, and we hiked up this trail, and this is what we are proposing in place of that conservation easement is a new easement that's about 10 or 12 times the size, maybe even 20 times the size. So we're asking the board to consider that.
Okay. Quite a few of us walked it, have been there. We've looked at it a second time. We had scientists go in and look for plants that we had been told might be there, and it sounded like it would be something that we could support.
Okay.
And anybody have any comment on? I think all we can do is support it, and then it goes to the selectmen.
Okay.
And then it has to be
Do we
written up.
need to make any comment about the proposed switch? Or are we just talking about the drive right now that you're proposing?
This is the switch, right?
This is the switch.
This is the switch.
I'm assuming that.
I would suggest you support it when he
Support it.
comes in for a site plan, because you'll be coming in for site plan, because it's
Correct.
really, the planning board will have to be the ones that
Decide.
and then it has to get accepted by the selectmen after
Okay.
that. Because what it is, you'll have to propose another easement to them and explain to them, but this way, that if they support it, they can express
So we'll
that.
propose it during the planning board process, and then it will be accepted ultimately by the select.
Yeah, because they put it as, say, they recommend the swap of it, and then any easements have to get accepted by the board of
Okay.
selectmen.
So what we have to do is support this plan.
Support it with a motion?
With a motion, with any questions or
And you'll see the site plan too, when he
comments
comes
on
back
this?
again.
Okay, so you need a motion? Or not now?
You
You wait
Support.
until it's gone to the planning board.
I don't know if you want to talk to Kimberly, or she's just coming in, because she really looked at it and she commented on it. They're talking about the swap of the easement,
Oh, okay.
and you really didn't see an issue?
I didn't. No.
Okay, so what we need, I think we should have a
Motion to
motion to
support it.
support this.
Right. Okay, I make a motion that the Conservation Commission supports the swap of easement, of a conservation easement, and with this, and I don't have the plan in front of me, for the,
What was it, map 5,
Map 5,
There you
lot
go.
56.
56 and 56-1,
Mm-hmm.
and is it 4?
And 56,
556-1 is where it exists now, and 556-5. It's on both of those two lots, and we're looking to switch it on to 556-4.
and then do you want to put owned by, and then the owners of the property?
Which is Stephen and Denise Langley.
Yeah. Okay, David, you want to say something?
I just want to ask a question. So the newly created easement area what's the size of the new area?
It's somewhere around 10 or 12 acres.
12 acres.
Thank you.
And it abuts Grand George's from the top,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yes, it does, I believe. I
Well, it's
believe
kind
that
of-
would be there.
Yeah, and it's kind of butts that, and then actually, the access road to get up to that tower actually gets you closer to that area, correct?
Well, the tower is here.
Right.
If you recall, we went out the cell tower road
Right.
to about this point, and we hiked up this existing trail.
Okay, and then I think we came back
That
down
trail actually
here.
goes right through it and keeps right on
Oh,
going.
okay, all right, right.
And then, then we came back out and we drove up to the
That's
tower
what it
site.
was, all right, okay.
Yeah, we drove up.
Oh,
We
wow.
drove up.
Okay.
Yes, Susan.
Well, I just want to make sure that it was noted that we are going to have a right-of-way of some kind.
Yes.
To allow us to get to this, because the selectmen are going to probably ask that, it's sitting up there, how are we going to access it? And there will be
Yeah, I think,
within that
right, we'll have to work on language for that, but
Right,
there'll be an
right.
easement created.
an easement for that right-of-way.
And
Yeah.
I believe we also spoke about some kind of marking, maybe,
Well, there was a sign at the
so
bottom.
that they would just know
So you
exactly.
know where it is.
where they-
Right.
I think that would be in your wording of
Okay,
whatever.
I guess we could
But
make that
that
part
is
of the
not-
site plan.
Plan of
Yeah.
site plan.
Vehicular
Right,
access,
that's something
it's
else.
ac-
Okay.
foot
Right, it's not
access.
vehicular access.
It's a footpath,
Oh,
it was a
right.
footpath.
Footpath, yep.
Right,
Okay.
I don't think you're looking for a vehicular path.
no.
No, we're just looking for,
Neither are we.
any other questions or comments?
Would you get a second?
That's what, we have a
Oh,
second.
I
We do.
can second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that was quick.
We like it.
You too.
Thank you.
Okay, the next one is a recommendation needed for ZBA for Janigan's Associates, 15 Factory Street, map 34, lot 171, for a variance to allow a mixed-use project within the wetland surface water conservation district. This property is exempt from the New Hampshire Shoreline Protection Area. This property is zoned village commercial. We have a presenter here.
Good evening. I'm Alan Gayton. Many of you know me. I'm just going to hang up a color plan that might help demonstrate or help everybody visualize what's going on or what's proposed.
Yeah.
And see if it stays up here.
Great artwork.
I don't know about that. It's a little more colorful than the black and white.
I know.
So, we're here this evening, and I'm thankful to be here. This is my first step. You have to understand, this is a project of mine. It's not Mr. Janigan. It's Alan Gayton, 82 Hillcrest Road. And so, I'm trying to do something with this site. I've looked at it for the past 2 years, and in July, Mr. Janigan stopped in my office and he says, "Alan, here, I need to talk to him." It was, I need to talk to him. It wasn't, I'd like to talk to him. And so since then, he and I have been working with this, and I have an agreement to purchase the property from Mr. Janigan. So I'm going through the process to prove to myself that I can receive all the normal approvals, starting with the Conservation Commission. And one of them is, this particular property is unique and requires variances on this property. The one in specific that you're looking at this evening is that a number of years ago, this site was one of those that was exempted from the Shoreline Protection Act at the request of Planning Board. There were several properties both above and below the bridge that were withdrawn from that, and we were allowed to do it, and that was approved by the state. Subsequently, we also have a surface water buffer map in our documents in the town. It has a buffer along all the waterways and whatever. And there's a nice little map with green zones. Now, there's two things that need to be done. One is existing buildings, the mill building, the boiler house, and the generating facility all have either all or a portion of it within this buffer zone. So technically, I can't do anything. I can't put a ramp on the outside. I can't build a deck. I can't do anything unless I have permission to do so. Secondly, in the development of the remaining portion of the site, if you look at where the existing buildings used to be, because some of them are gone now, the existing foundations and whatever are all within that 100-foot buffer. some of them are closer than 50 feet to the river. I'm proposing that this development would allow construction within the outer 50 feet, not the inner 50 feet, but the outer 50 feet. And basically, those would be the houses along the edge of the river. There's approximately 15 of them. And those are actually for sale units and not rental units. And so I'm looking to have that permission to preserve the 50 feet. And having talked to Kathy and Don Ball this evening, earlier before I came over, to just get their concerns about what might go on over here and their visual privacy, is that first 50 feet would be left as is, as primarily the sloping portion along the river.
Alan, I'm sorry, would you mind standing up and pointing to the things that you're talking about?
Certainly.
Just so we can follow real carefully.
Okay.
Thank you very
Not a
much.
problem. Let me get a nice bright colored pen. There we go. All right.
Thank you.
If you look at the existing plan, there was a garage, there's existing house. Used to be the caretaker's shed that's been added onto about 4 or 5 times. You have the existing mill building, and there is an existing structure that extends all the way down to here now, would be removed, the existing boiler house. This is the power generating station and the water penstock. The power station is not in operation at this moment. I don't know the exact status with the State Bureau of Dams, whether, since they control this dam here and we don't. I'm interested in fixing this and starting it again.
Starting the dam?
Starting the powerhouse again.
Powerhouse, okay.
Then
What am I saying?
there's a darker line that runs along the edge of the site here, and that's that 50-foot buffer from the river. And the 100-foot is not shown because it extends way into the site all the way around. So I tried to demonstrate this is I'll call it the 50 feet that we're not going to disturb. It's primarily vegetated and treed at the present time. My point is, I think it's a great barrier. It's also a great landscaped area. I really don't want to disturb any of that. So the project is called the Goss Falls Village. These are typically smaller units. On the inner side here, they're basically 18 by 26, 2-story, 2-bedroom, for sale units. The units along the river are basically 20 by 30, 2 stories, with varying facades, meaning you could say, I live in the house with the red front and the 2 gables on the front, but that would be unique to maybe this one building here. Or I have a front porch on them. So technically speaking, each one of these units would have its own individual character in terms of exterior design. Even though they are in the typical row house type of condominium affair, this would be a condominium, everything is for sale. If I looked at the density on the site, if I took the square footage that was developed before, buildings, pavement, old slab foundations, and added it all up, then I take all this new pavement, all the new construction, it only increases the surface coverages by 4% on the entire site.
Of what was existing before.
Of what was existing. So I've made application to the ZBA for several variances, but one of the building in this buffer zone, so I allowed to, see, I want to build a deck on the river. So what am I using this building for? It's called, I have a restaurant on the first floor with a bakery. And then the upper 2 floors would be residential. The boiler house would remain as I'll call it a storage facility for whatever happens on this site, because the boiler would no longer be used, although there is a oil tank in the building. And the powerhouse probably would be used, if I can get the thing to regenerate electricity again, would be used for that capacity and whatever. No name for the restaurant yet. We have a couple interested parties besides myself. I mean, I'd like to have a restaurant here myself, except my wife says I'd never see her again. But restaurant, mini brewery, and bakery. Now, I have 3 different parties interested in that operation. The mini brewery would like the boiler house. And I don't know why, that's just something that they're interested in. There are no potential customers for any of this development other than the existing mill building. They've currently priced out the repairs and reconstruction of that mill that's been unattended for about 20 years. Obviously, you know the rail trail is here. Only one exit and entrance proposed, and that's through the existing factory street. No access from East Union Street. I don't think the demand on traffic is sufficient enough to require a second access point to the site. And I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. I'll remain standing so I can point to anything if anybody would like to.
Does anyone have any
Please.
questions?
Well, I'm thinking in terms of conservation, things that we should be concerned about. And in looking at your application, my first thought was landscaping, which is something that we should be concerned about. And you have a lot of parking spaces. So I was thinking about snow removal and then really aesthetically landscaped. I know that, but I think it's a big deal, and particularly if it's on the water. Those were things I was thinking about. And let me see. And then, okay, so you're saying that along the water's edge, that is exempt because of that commercial district that we have in town.
It's an urban exemption.
Right. And that first parking lot as you enter is really almost all, well, in that 50-foot. And how does it slope down? It doesn't look like there's much of a slope at all. Back over here where you have these little houses, it looks like it is quite steep. Is that correct?
You're looking along here?
No, she's looking at that.
Along the river.
So
Along the river, it's 25 feet.
Okay, but what about to the left?
Here, that
Up
parking
here?
area right there.
Yeah,
There's a vast difference once you get below the dam.
yeah,
There's an 11-foot drop
okay,
at the dam face itself.
okay.
If the dasher boards were there, the water would be even higher. But the dasher boards haven't been there for the last couple of years. This slope here, if you look at the existing slope, is about 4 feet from one end to the other, sloping this way towards the building.
Sloping towards the water, going
No,
north.
Actually, it slopes towards the building. This is the high ground. It slopes about
I
4
see what
feet
you're
from
saying.
here from one end to the other. This is the high end. This is the low end.
Okay, well, what about the edge of the parking lot to
Yeah.
the
To the river,
river?
the distance is about 10 feet, and it's about 5.5 feet down. At the banking, there's about a 4-foot drop right now to the water's level on the
10
banking.
feet, okay. Why would...
The existing house actually sticks closer to the river than this parking lot.
Okay, I think I still would have a real major concern about snow removal there.
Okay.
You know, not that it's
That-
shoved over the and into the river.
Oh, I understand. I understand where you're going.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. I'm sure the planning board is going to have
I'm
a
sure
field
they,
day with the snow removal.
I'm sure they will too, but that is something that we would be very concerned about.
But Evelyn, from my background,
I know.
you know I'm a
I know.
landscape architect. This is going to be done right.
I know. No,
This is
I
mine.
know. I just, you wanted us to know what conservation would be concerned about,
Oh,
and so
That's fine.
those were
I know.
some of the things I was thinking about. And you probably already thought about them.
Yes, I have, but
Okay.
I knew someone would mention it. That's fine. I appreciate that.
And again, I would be, and I think, because we, many, many years ago, had been given the charge of being concerned about landscaping.
Mm-hmm.
And particularly, I think this is going to be a very, very visible project. And knowing you, Alan, you'll want it to look really, really good.
I
But
have to live in town.
But that would, I think, be another big concern here.
Okay.
And boy, you sure have, and I understand you need a lot of parking, but the landscaping will have to be rather creative also.
It will. If I could also be creative about parking, I would. But this meets the current zoning ordinance.
Is that right?
If I could convince the powers to be that we could do with less, that's one thing, but I'm not sure that I can pull that one off. I would certainly try that, because one, it saves time and effort and dollars on my behalf. But I'd still probably have to reserve areas for parking in case it was necessary. I'm sure the planning board would look at it in that direction also.
Now, okay, my only other thing is, I don't think we'd want any, and you said you like that buffer zone that is between the units and the river as being left natural, and I think that's something that we would be have strong feelings about, that should remain natural.
Agreed.
You're not,
Agreed.
okay.
Any other comments, questions? Kim?
Well, I think it's great that we're seeing a plan come in here, and I love it that we're trying to do something with it. But I agree with you that the 50-foot buffer starting from the east side, moving all the way around, is easy for you guys to leave in a natural state because it's steep, and then you have the existing structures. But I would go further than you, Evelyn. I would say that this parking area in this buffer, with only 10 feet away from our river, I have a hard time agreeing that is necessary. I would have a very hard time giving a waiver for this parking area in this 50 feet, 10 feet away from the river right here.
That has virtually...
Right. I agree over here. I mean, you would have structural issues and all that. That's great. But this 50 foot, I would struggle with. That you're changing this to be impervious, and you're getting very close to the river.
Well, I was wondering, is there some kind of, are there surfaces now that you can put out that are not are
Pervious. They're pervious surfaces.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You can, but you're still going to have to disturb this. And I know that there's existing structures there, and it is, it is in a disturbed area. It's not in a natural state, but that's very close to the river. Well, that's my concern.
Yeah.
Now, if I might comment on that, remember that everything in front of these existing buildings is already paved.
Oh, everything
It's already paved.
you
In
don't
front of this
have
existing house and this garage is already
all
paved.
paved.
But not going that direction. So maybe if you can be creative about, I don't know.
Is that the same footprint of what's paved there already?
No. What I'm saying, Evelyn, is that if you take in the front of the garage to the front of the house, this area here, including this area here, is all paved already. Exists as pavement today.
Okay, so basically about half
About
of
half
that
of it's already paved.
paved. Okay.
Right.
10 feet from the water already.
Alan, isn't it, for the parking, you would go to the planning board, and can't you ask for a waiver of the parking requirements? Or is it something you've seen that would go to ZBA? Because right now, he hasn't submitted to planning yet. This is to ZBA
Right.
for the variance to be allowed to build within the buffer. I'm thinking you could, I don't know if it's that specific zoning requires, but I think you could ask for a waiver with planning.
The
I could be
stumbling
wrong,
block-
but that's the board I think you'd do it.
The stumbling block is restaurant.
Right.
The zoning ordinance, our zoning ordinance, asks for an inordinately number of parking spaces for a restaurant,
Okay, so
based upon but probably is the real demand. And that would be one area where I could ask the planning board for leverage to do, it's here, but I only want to do half of it unless it's absolutely necessary. That may be all I'm going to be able to get from the planning board, is that, for them to acquiesce to something like that.
I'm even thinking, and as Kimberly said, being a little creative, but if half of this is paved, I could even say, why don't you use half of it, and then you have the spots that are away, the furthest away from the river could be left, and just take away those, let's say, the first, say 5 or 6. Do you know what I'm saying? On that one corner.
That corner?
Yeah, the northwest
You're
corner.
looking at this corner here?
Yeah, that's
Just
what I'm
that
just,
corner.
and I don't know if that's,
I think all those questions can be asked,
right.
but it's really up to the planning board is going to If I ask for too much, they're gonna jump a little bit. If I ask the right questions, we'll probably get what we want in terms of everybody's satisfaction. My goal here is, although you can't see it on this plan, I love trees. I mean, you know, I don't want to cut a tree down on here unless I have to. I mean, granted, there are some easements on here which the town owns for sewer and water and everything else, so they can do whatever they want. But beyond that, I think I personally don't want to cut any trees. I mean, you can come to my house, you can see I live in the woods.
Any other questions or comments?
So we would see this again
We
if
would
it got
see this
approved
again.
with
This
the
is
final
kind of a
plan.
Well,
conceptual.
Maybe not?
I think that when it's submitted to a planning board, see, I'm going to the planning board for conditional use permits first, before I invest a lot of money in engineering and final design and all that stuff. So yes, you will see it again.
And I'm thinking if it's required by ZBA, you could always, if you support the granting of the variance, you could recommend you support the granting of the variance and would recommend reduction in the parking in those first 5 and snow removal's a concern.
Yeah, you could recommend that to the planning board.
Now, this is not a question concerning conservation. Am I allowed to ask a question?
You can ask any question you want.
Thank you, Alan. Why don't you have a second exit here, even though you have 25 feet? I'm just curious about, and this is more for police or fire, because there's I think quite a concentration of people back here. Do they allow you to do that or not? I'm just curious.
There's a lot of things in question.
Okay.
I remember this plan before.
I want to try
They
to
won't let
explain
them out
myself.
here.
But there was a real problem with access to East Union Street on any prior proposals that were ever presented to this town.
Because
That's number one. Number two, there's also a substantial grade issue going up to East Union Street from
Okay.
this site.
All right. I think I remember now. Okay. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Thirdly, the access that exists there now goes through, doesn't access at the property frontage. It accesses through the rail trail. So that's another
Issue.
issue.
Okay.
And I want to avoid negotiating with the town to get to the driveway up, like one of our approved ones, through the pump station property. It complicates the issue beyond just what we want to do here. But if you look at this site, and you go walk on the rail trail, you look down over the banking, just think that the rail trail actually extends the town property to the foot of the banking when you stand on the top of the rail trail. It's not up here on the top. So all those trees along the rail trail on this side of this property belong to the town. And so those will never be removed. Although there are foundations that were on this property that extend on the rail trail. There's an old loading dock that was behind one of the buildings that I'm going to ask for permission to remove and repair the side of the rail trail. But some of those old structures I want to get rid of. Don't do them any good. I'll have equipment there to take care of it.
Okay. Do we have any other questions or?
I guess just the whole thing to me is just a little confusing in regards to it's a little different from, we're looking at a property that is in pristine shape and we're asking for permission to go into the buffer zone. In this case, it's completely disturbed site. It's developed, we've got sewer line easements, we've got water line easements, we've got the rail trail coming through. So that, all those complicating factors which he's already mentioned. But then there were all the buildings that burned down, and those buildings existed before the zones went in, so they were grandfathered in. If a building burns down, then is redeveloping it the same as, we're not talking about an incursion into a pristine area. We're talking about an area that's full of rubble and foundation ruins and existing pavement, and so the whole concept of the variance in the first place just seems a little odd in some ways.
Well, it is, in fact, when we, as a planning board, we exempted it from the shoreline, but we end up with a buffer zone after the fact.
Yeah.
So, things didn't quite get caught, probably.
We have a state process and a town process.
Yeah, I know, it's,
The
doesn't
urban
always work
exemption
the
came from
same.
the state. right?
Doesn't always work the same.
Right, but what I'm saying is that there was buildings and all that were there before the town process went in too, so
So,
Just look
it's
at,
a just.
look at it this way.
just because
When
it
did the
burned
town
down.
get the
it-
property for the pump station? It was part of this property at one time. The town purchased that where the pump station is and was given the easement by Hermsdorf in the 1960 or somewhere in that vicinity. So this was a much bigger lot and plot at one time or other also. And it was never fully utilized down that end, because when the pump station was built there years and years ago, it was probably pristine at that time too. Who knows what went on? We have found some old foundations there, but the actual mill building appears to have been built in the 30s, because it has a cast-in-place concrete foundation, which they didn't do before then. So it's a relatively new mill building in terms of age.
Okay, do we have any other concerns or questions or anything at this time? You're looking from us to
Of course,
support this?
of course.
Yes.
Well, I
We
think,
have, I know, you know our concerns. We like the landscaping and the trees and all that. And to see about those 5 parking spaces, if possible.
I can work with the planning
Whatever.
staff, and I can also
Yes.
work with the planning board to see what, if we can get some lessening of, see, when they say restaurant, they say 70,
Right.
one parking space per 75 square feet. It's the only ordinance in probably all of Rockingham County that doesn't allow you to take a restaurant and have seating, kitchen, storage as 3 separate density classifications to determine parking.
Determine parking.
And so we generally attack it from the side. How many tables we have here?
Mm-hmm.
30 tables, it's 120 people. That's, say, every table has 2 cars. That's 60 cars. I have to have 75 for the restaurant.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think there's some room to work.
Okay, so does somebody want to make a
I
motion on
think
this?
the only other was the
We need a mo-
snow
we need-
removal,
should-
but we know
You
that
should,
Alan-
because you're making
we
a
should make a
recommendation
motion.
to the zoning board of adjustment. And when he submits site plan, you may see it again.
Do I have someone to make a motion?
Okay.
Go ahead, Evelyn.
I move that the Conservation Commission support the development on this piece of property. And our concerns would be with proper landscaping, that we have snow removal concerns, just that they be very conscientious about not dumping in the river. And if at all possible, we would like to see a few of the parking spots removed from the northwest parking lot that is closest to the river. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Yep.
ma'am.
Yep.
Okay. And I think that's all. And actually, this is not part of that, but I think we'll all like to see something happen to that piece of property. And actually, somebody local doing it would be much nicer than having some other, I think, developer coming in that, we know that you would care about it. So, but that was, then I probably should say, and I know I don't have to say this to Alan, but we would love the architecture to look very New England.
Already got
That's
that.
not part of what you're recommending.
I
no.
know, but I sure, that's always been a big thing on mine. But anyway, there you go.
I don't want to live in a glass house, okay?
We have a second on the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions, okay.
Thank you.
You're
Look forward to
welcome.
being back again.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
Yes. good
Oh,
luck.
I'm gonna need it.
I am sure, but it would be nice to
It would
see
be
something
nice.
happen. Yeah, a restaurant
That'd be
would
nice.
be really
And a
nice.
brewery, remember when that came
Yeah.
through? It's so
And actually,
complicated and on a
Alan,
corner.
And a
So
little
that
brewery.
deck, I'm assuming, would be a nice place for
Down
people.
at Union Street.
It'd be really nice to have the deck out there.
here?
Oh, yes.
Very lovely.
Oh, no,
I want a place to have a cup of coffee and read my newspaper every morning.
Oh, Alan's going to be on this deck every morning?
There's Easement in town. and-
Okay,
Okay.
very good. Thank you very, very much. Okay.
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 We have recommendations needed to ZBA for Sandra and Gerard Hebert, 118 Mountain Base Road, map 42, lot 52, for a variance to allow a shed and chicken coop to remain within the wetland surface water conservation district setback area. Property is zone agricultural. Do we have the presenter?
I don't have a big plan, but a very, very small we can follow from
Thank you.
that.
Patty, do you want these returned?
Go on to mail.
No, those are
No.
Hey, my name is Andy Sullivan, the attorney, and with me is Sandy Hebert. This property was her father's, Gerard Hebert, who recently died. Maybe some of you knew him. And it's a small lot. The plan I've given you was just recently done, it's still a draft, but it's scaled. The perimeter I've highlighted, that's actually a right-of-way. You wouldn't get that from looking at the Google overlay or driving by it. In fact, the neighbors next door to McCarthy's on the north side, you can see their driveway comes in on that right-of-way. Okay.
Is that, right away is these for the town?
We don't know. It's been sitting.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I know, this, all those properties, okay,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
We were talking about that today. I don't know what the right-of-way is there for, but nonetheless, you couldn't see that, and that's why we have this plan. What is before the ZBA is, I put in yellow, just west of the house is a tiny little rectangle coop. It's a chicken coop. In yellow, see that?
Mm-hmm.
Just to the, say, the 11 o'clock position of the word tax. And then just west of the gravel driveway on this lot is a shed. You can see that shed, it's actually not on the line, but it's literally a couple inches from the line. Ultimately, Ms. Hebert plans to do a quiet title petition so she can pick up half of that right away, and McCarthy's will pick up the other half, so the shed would be, at that point, 10 feet away. But she didn't even know the existence of the right away because she just inherited the property, I guess, recently.
Yeah, and it was bought from my cousin, which was my father's niece, who lived there for 38 years.
So a lot of the stuff we're just finding out. So what's before the ZBA is a request to allow the coop and the shed to stay. The coop is actually on wheels, and is it on wheels?
It's on wheels.
Yes, so it can be moved. The specific request before the ZBA is, as you know, obviously is wetland, that you see the outlet on the lower right-of-way by the lake is a little concrete thing. That outlet comes in on the southern section of the lot. So,
That actually is a dam that was always taken care of by conservation, so that's
Right.
a really important dam.
it is. It is. Whereas the shed is 100 feet from the lake, and the coop could be pushed 100 feet from the lake. There's no way around getting anything but about 50 feet from the outlet there. And so the variance is requesting that the 150-foot buffer be waived, and Ms. Hebert be allowed to maintain the shed basically where it is. And the coop, she's willing to move it anywhere that they think is better on the spot than what's existing there, but in either way, to waive the 100-foot, and we think we can make these to the 50-foot. Closer towards that outlet, there are some trees, so we don't want to disturb those trees. So quite frankly, the logical spot for both of these is more or less where they are. Again, the coop is, because on wheels, there's no impact, water flows underneath that, and the shed is on, cinder block.
Now, how far did you say the coop was?
I don't have my scale with me, I scaled it this afternoon.
Okay.
The coop right now, as it sits, is approximately 70 feet from the water, and the shed is just at the 100-foot mark, okay, from the lake. The coop, as it exists from the stream, is probably about 45, and the shed is about the same.
Is that stream Dan Little Brook?
Yeah. Could be.
Can I ask a procedural question?
Yeah,
How did this come about? These are existing structures, right? So why is this before us?
well,
We're going for variance.
is the coop new?
Coop is new.
The coop is new.
Oh, the coop is new.
So is the
The-
shed.
The shed is new also?
Um,
They're new.
Okay, Ms. Hebert, lived on, was it Van Buren?
I lived on Van Buren, and we were getting this house for my father. It was his dream house, and because he liked to live on the lake, and he could forget about World War II. He was a POW. So the lake house was purchased from my cousin, and the day that I said to stay over, he ended up in the hospital. And he was in and out of the hospital for 3 weeks. And what happened is that when he was coming home the third time, hospice was coming to the house. And so while I was in the hospital with my dad, friends of mine moved the coop over to the house because they knew I would not be able to leave the house because I was taking care of my dad. And when you're in hospice, you can't leave. And so they brought the coop so that my chickens wouldn't die. So there was no thought. I didn't know of any conservation problem.
Or
Never had any
setback
knowledge
problem or
or
anything.
setback problem, so it certainly wasn't anything to hurt anyone or to do anything with conservation. It was an emergency situation, and the shed was almost the same situation. I moved his house. He was moving all his things to my house on Van Buren, and we said, there's no storage in the lake house. It's a little thing from way back when. So we, moved his shed, like a very quick decision to move the shed so that we would be able to store. He had a lot of antiques at the time, and I brought everything in, and he passed away 3 weeks after we got the house, so he never enjoyed the house. However, I had to move out of my house, so now I have a 3-stall garage in a very large house, and I'm moving into 800 feet. So I really need the shed. And I don't plan, hopefully, if I can go through all those boxes, I plan on selling the shed or maybe getting something very smaller because I didn't realize how large the shed was when it was moved there. It didn't look that big in my father's house. So that's pretty much what I'm looking for, is just a chance to move into the lake house. I'm still not completely moved out of the house is on the market, and I'm going back on Saturday. My whole focus has been on Van Buren so that I can get that house sold. And then I plan on going through all the boxes and getting organized and basically moving into the lake houses. And so I apologize. Really, I had no idea that there was any kind of restrictions at all at the time.
Did you say you're gonna move the shed into the right-of-way? Was something gonna move?
No,
in?
I said,
No?
she plans to, as a matter of fact, at the request of Brian Rose, get rid of this right-of-way. And as you know, in New Hampshire, most any other state, if you have a right-of-way that really was never used, you can quiet title, and one guy gets one half, and you get one half,
Right.
et cetera. So it's 20 feet wide, so it'll be picking up another 10, is what I'm saying.
that would go through the Board of Selectmen, though. That's something you'd have to.
No, boy, that actually, no, that would go through, petition to quiet title, go through the court.
Okay.
And then that would split it that way.
Who's the right-of-way with?
The right-of-way's never been
That's the
accepted.
town's.
Right-of-way's never, it's just been sitting there, it's just papers, it's paper.
Paper road.
The paper roads.
Right.
We have a lot of those.
If it had been accepted, then the Board of Selectmen would have to formally discontinue it.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
the other
well,
one, I don't know if it's because of the dams there. or
That's
not.
the
It looks
dams
like
right
it
there
goes
too,
through,
so.
I don't think the dam,
And-
only because we've gone in, the highway department has repaired it, we've had the state come in, I mean, that,
She has no intention of going for
Right.
just the other one, because the dam,
Right.
obviously, people need to,
Yeah.
whoever takes care of that dam and that
You're not gonna wanna have any
Burn.
part, right, you'd rather have
They've always
somebody else
come on
be
the
responsible.
property. I know my
Yeah.
cousin told me that they've always come on the property at any time
Right.
to look at the dam and.
Right.
And
And
any
repair it,
proposed-
we've had some
Exactly.
repairs too, so you're not
Scheduled
gonna
for
wanna
next year or
do that.
repair
Repair again, yeah.
next year.
Yeah.
But that's one of the paper roads, isn't it?
That's a right-of-way.
You know.
It just says right-of-way in the old instruments. It doesn't say necessarily for the purpose, or
It's
that
hard
right-of-way
for
may
me.
have existed before that little dam, for all I know. I don't know.
Well, it says reference plan number 1, so these are shown from 1905, 1906.
Right.
It's been around for a while.
And was there a period on the other part of the mountain where we looked at these paper roads and
What is the dam doing?
gave part to one and part to the other? I mean, I think there's other parts of this development, this was an old development.
The old Mount
And holds the
Canuck,
lake.
Yeah,
those roads, a lot of them, I think you guys picked up where they've disappeared. And other
Right.
ones, because I've done them over the years, we've split, we've traded with
Seen
the
it on
towns, you know.
right.
Houses were built over top the roads.
And maybe this was just a section, because there's a lane back there that maybe none of those were dealt with, but I think they've been dealt with elsewhere. I mean, is that something you'd have to look into?
Okay,
But
Yeah.
so you're going to ZBA?
Go to ZBA with the specific request of allowing the placement of the shed and the coop to stay, even though they're not they're not outside the 100 foot. Okay,
Right.
And so what we're saying is we can keep them within because they're already more than 50 feet away from the lake, but you know there is a spot to make them both 50 feet from the brook too, but I don't know if the neighbor would want that, or I don't know if that's the best placement, because I'm basically asking the ZBA to allow it to where they are, but we're willing to move or you can move the shed over another foot, and I don't know if all of it would be 50 feet from the brook, and that would meet, but the coop can get moved anywhere, but I don't know if, it's chickens, I'll be honest with you. This whole episode is complaint driven. McCarthy didn't like the sound of the chickens, so, we're here. And she's gotten rid of a lot of the chickens.
I got half of my flock I've given away, and I gave it to the lady across the lake who currently has owned chickens for many, many years beyond, I can't imagine. Again, when I bought the chickens, I certainly never thought it would be a problem, because I used to go see the lady's chicken that's across the lake. You know, she came over and said hi when we used to sit out on my cousin's deck. And I used to go see her chicken, so in my mind, I never thought it ever would have been a problem to bring the chicken coop with the chickens on there.
Just, how big is the coop and how many chickens are there?
I have, I believe it's 9 chickens, and it is an 8x10 coop, and it's raised up so that they can go under, and then I have a little fenced area for them to walk out into.
9 chickens, and there's some other things in
And
there.
it holds 15 to 20, and I have 2 runner ducks, but they're not going to be, I'm thinking of putting them in a little doghouse, but adding a doghouse to keep them separate. But I have 2 runner ducks and 3 Sebastopol geese, which all the chickens, the geese, and the Indian runners were all hatched by me in an incubator. So they're not just chickens. They're my pets. I don't know what else to say. People love chickens and love these things. And the Sebastopols are very rare, especially up here in New Hampshire. I don't know too many people who have Sebastopol geese.
Do you plan on getting more ducks and chickens?
No, I'm very happy with what I have currently.
You got rid of
I got rid of half my flock.
This is agriculture, right? Zoned agricultural? Okay.
Okay, and I have one, in here, there's supposed to be a letter from DES too.
There is a letter.
There is one.
There's a letter.
The audience speak?
They've already approved it.
DES doesn't
I
have
noticed, we have some, Susan, I was gonna have something.
Okay, can we speak first and they can speak?
Mhm.
Okay. I guess my comment, I've been down there, I think I've driven down 3 times since I've seen this, because I like chickens too. Anyway, just to take a look at it. And in my recollection, when we dealt with Moose Club and what are all the places in Pinardville? Those small lots that are on the river.
Right on the river.
Right on the river. There were sheds and adjacent
Existing, right?
properties and the houses are all within the 100-foot setback. And I think we allowed them to exist as long as they were in the outer 50-foot setback. I think we pretty much,
If you look at the
Right.
Google overlay of
Right.
this area,
well, I'm just saying, yours are
Every
going to be in the
single-
outer. Right,
frontage, lakefront lot has
Right.
outbuildings closer than 50 feet.
exactly. And I looked at that too, took a look at that. And
But probably for
And
scores of years.
the only thing is, it may have been that those were existing and these are new. I think that may
Right.
be the difference.
Correct.
These are new, these are,
Correct.
and I think the ZBA, because they're new, they haven't been there, and I think the others, we allowed them because they'd been there for years. Somebody in the audience?
Sure.
Just state your name.
I am Diane McCarthy, I live at 116 Mountain Base Road, and I don't disagree with council. I do have a complaint. I will reserve my comments to complaints that are specific to conservation. But the points are right on, that these are new structures coming in after the 2008 establishment of the surface water protection. I do not believe that there is a spot on the property that could put it 50 feet beyond the brook, which is part of that, without pushing it into our property. My concerns about this are, as it pertains to conservation, are the impact on the environment. Is this certified from the recent survey?
We just
that
got it.
took place?
We just got it, so.
Okay.
But that is the scale.
Okay, perfect. My concern, as it pertains to conservation, as I was saying, is the environmental impact of the use. Not necessarily for me the structure, but the actual use that is related to the structure of the coop. We have historically in that coop had more than just the 9 chickens. We have had roughly 15 chickens, which include 3 roosters. We've had the 3 ducks, and then 2 or 3. I can't disagree. I can't challenge your count on the larger breed ducks in the coop. Additionally speaking, the feeding habits that are taking place have impacted our local duck population. As a little point of history, I grew up there. I purchased the house I grew up in. I did have a brief period where I didn't live there, but let's just say I've been there about 35 years. We have always lived in harmony with the ecology, with the animals in the area. I have never, ever seen such a large duck population. The summer started out, as Ms. Hebert stated, she hatched 4 mallard ducks. She's hatched her ducks, but in this particular instance, she hatched 4 mallards, released them to the wild on the town-owned beach that is behind her house. This is the town-owned beach that residents such as myself, the Lewises, the Garans, the Tollisons, the Slossons, numerous people who live in the neighborhood come and use that beach and they swim. The ducks were being fed on the beach. The geese then, after they were hatched, were likewise released onto the beach. The feeding has not only encouraged those animals to live on the beach, they have subsequently moved, but the wild ducks became very tame. The wild ducks started to come. At one point, I had about 22 ducks roosting on the beach. Now, mind you, ducks have never, ever roosted on the beach prior to you moving there. Sandy, I've seen them. I have seen them. I've counted, just in being. I mean, that's what's happened.
That was, well, I'm going to let you speak.
With feces and feathers. I had a significant public health concern. Significant health concern as far as, is it safe for my children to swim there? Is this okay? We all know that ducks do carry disease. As of August, our duck flock was at about 46. They had migrated over to the pond that is across the street that you see on the map. So that it seemed to coincide with the movement of the ducks and, the geese into the enclosure for the chickens. But yes, the wild ducks are being fed and we now have a very large population. I don't have an opinion from DES, but we do know that DES does strongly discourage any sort of form feeding of ducks because of course they feces as they've eaten corn, or it's something that's not natural, something they haven't hunted and gathered, does change the ecology of the water. Not to mention, it's a population we can't naturally sustain. So I have significant concerns as it pertains to our environment. I have, as far as our ordinances go, if you look at section 13 with the overlay districts, it does speak clearly to the land uses within the WSWC district. that would contribute to the pollution of surface waters and groundwaters, as well as it's looking to protect the wildlife habitats and maintain the ecological integrity. And I do think that this situation here does challenge that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll speak to that.
Go ahead.
Because I've been there. I was there a year prior because I was, my father used to go out to the deck with my cousin, and I started going out there because I was taking care of my dad because he wasn't as able to take care of himself. So I would take him out to the lake. What I first saw when I went there was ducks sitting right in front of the house, which I just couldn't even imagine. I was thrilled because I love ducks, and I've had a few at my other house. And so that was what made us love the house, actually. And so ducks being in front and in that area, it's always been that way. And the area that we're discussing is conservation land. It is not a beach. There is a public beach on this lake that is there for all the town residents. So there's a piece of conservatory land that's about 10 feet wide, and it's not necessarily a beach that it's not listed as a beach. The only people that come to that area and sit in front of my picture windows every year is the McCarthys. Everyone else goes to the other side of the dam, and they swim and have never seemed to have a problem. And the ducks were there in early spring. And yes, what happened is that her dog came and chased my ducks into the lake, and off they went, which definitely was upsetting to me. So my ducks are wild. They were never meant to stay here. And the geese were just babies, and I just brought them out so that they could eat some grass. They were in the house. They weren't out there for any length of time, so they weren't really gathering. And when I was there the year before, that's all I could hear about was the other lady on the lake next to the pond. You know, between her and my cousin, the ducks would come back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And the other lady does feed them. She'd have them all in the driveway. So it's not anything that's unusual. Nothing has really changed in regards to it. They do come over to see me the minute they see me come out. But, I've always been out there with the ducks. That's not something that is anything new on that. And I don't see that there's a big change in the impact on I will do whatever I've been doing with the ducks, whether I have chickens or not. And I know we're discussing the structure and not the chickens. So if the coop goes, my chickens will still be able to stay because I don't think there is a problem with the chickens. So I can bring them in the house and let them out during the day in my fenced-in area. But I understand the only thing that we have right now on the board is the fact of having that structure there. But it's not, there's never anything going above the board for having actually the chickens there.
Yes, I have some,
Gentleman.
excuse me, I had somebody in the
Yeah, he
audience.
wants to
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm Brian Lewis on Mountain Base Road. I'm a neighbor as well. Been there for 13 years, and I've never seen so many ducks in my life at that time, in one spot all the time. Sandy seems like a nice lady. I met her, not trying to attack her character. I truly appreciate, new neighbors and everything. But the excessive birds, not only ducks, but all the, I'm not against chickens, but roosters that make noise really early in the morning. I don't live right next door, so it doesn't wake me up. But I would hate to be a neighbor close by when I get woke up at 5 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning.
Okay.
That's not part of the
Right,
discussion. I'm just trying
exactly.
to add a little. And without being redundant, I second what Diane said. I'm concerned about the lake because I lived there for 13 years. I like paddling around and love seeing the ducks, in little groups.
Small
but
groups.
I've never seen the explosion of population, and I don't know if it's. I don't know. I'm not a scientist, so I can't speak to what's happening. So.
David?
I just wanted to clarify something. So looking at the drawing, which shows the coop clearly, and then is this line that comes off the coop and kind of come down around, is that the fenced-in area?
Yeah, you can see the two cross hatches. That's the fence.
Okay, so I mean, the chickens, they stay in the
It's
coop,
literally
but during
like a
the,
chicken wire fence, right?
but during the day, they're out of the coop and in the fenced-in area.
They're in this little area that
And-
you see where it's highlighted, the small area. Yeah, that little, that goes in front of the house.
And then they're fed by grain scattered on the ground, I assume.
Yeah, and
So
I have things, feeders inside there,
yeah.
inside the coop, which I can keep the feed inside the coop.
Well,
That's not a problem, because they'll go back in to eat, and I just can put it in the coop so that it's not scattered. It's just that I just started to return to work, and I'll be honest with you, I'm from early morning to late at night, trying to sell a house, trying to move, trying to paint, working, coming home and taking care of the animals, and I have cats, and so, you know, I can, yeah. So I've been scattering because it's fairly easier or quicker right now. But I hope everything settles down so that everything will remain quiet. I can't help where wild ducks go, where wild ducks end up, to be honest. They'll come whether my chickens are there or not. It's, you know what I'm saying? That's what the land is for. And they've been in the pond all summer. And I haven't really seen any on the lake. It's very rare. Or in front of that area, in front of my house any longer, the conservation area. I don't see them out there very often. And I do see 15, I did see 15 Canadian geese one morning, which was very nice. So, you know what I'm saying? We do have our geese out there. You can't control what comes into the lake.
Yeah, my concern is with the poultry yard area. I mean, it's going to rain. There's going to be a runoff. We're so close to the brook there. I don't see how this wouldn't have some sort of impact on the pond itself.
I am going to say that area that you're looking at is temporary. I am waiting to find out what the zoning board is going to say, because that's just very temporary. And we did what we could quickly again. I had some folks come in and try to do something to get them a fenced area. But I'm waiting to hear the answer from the zoning board, because I don't want to spend money to fix, and I can cut that area in half. I can do whatever the zoning board wishes me to do. In fact, they don't have to have that area at all. They can have the area underneath the coop, which is 8 by 10. You know, it's not, you know, I'm very easygoing, very willing. I just enjoy my chickens. I can cut them down. I have 3 or 4 of my absolute favorites, and I can cut them down if that's what's necessary. But I enjoy them.
But to address your question, it is an agricultural zone, and it's allowed. The issue before the ZBA is the structure. Whether that structure exists or not, the chickens are allowed, and if there's any runoff,
I agree.
I don't want to say it's an allowed runoff, but the chickens are allowed.
And the lady across the lake is probably about 10 feet from the lake, and she has a chicken coop that's probably 3 or 4 times the size of mine, and she has very large chickens. I have bantams, very small chickens. Like I said, I guess I don't understand. And the chickens are there and closer to the lake.
I would not dispute that having chickens is an allowed usage within the agricultural zone, for sure. But we're also talking, we're within very close proximity to this pond and the drainage to the pond. That's why we have the wetland conservation buffers.
Sure.
And so I think that I have a concern with that. I have a concern with the runoff and what impact it has, not the buildings themselves, the coop or the shed. I mean, I don't think that there's any conservation impact of the buildings themselves on the lot. I think actually the issue is more the poultry yard and runoff from that.
Evelyn?
It took me forever, and Susan finally found it for me in this packet. What a packet you've got here. But there is a letter from DES. And it says, during the inspection, she talks about the movable coop, the approximately, all right, and located about 43 feet from the water's edge. Let's see, and it continues on. it's exempt in the agriculture, based, and then just continues on. And then it says, based upon a review of this file as well as the site inspection conducted, DES has determined that no further action is required, and they've closed the file because they decided that it is not a problem.
Did that come from Wetland Bureau or Wildlife?
Department of Environmental Sciences. It's in that do you have the packet?
I know, I don't.
They,
I left it all.
They turned it over to the town's
And
jurisdiction.
although I think everybody would have sympathies with both sides, I think really the whole issue for conservation, again, will be that movable or coop. And, because I don't really think we can get into, the other issues.
Allowed use.
Yeah, right, and so, I don't know, David,
And this is going to ZBA for the enforcement of the coop and the shed.
See, it says DES has found no conclusive evidence of violations of state standards relative to SWGP.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you look under, I think it was the violations.
I have Brian's,
Yeah.
Brian sent him a letter after we received the complaint, it's built within the buffer area. It's also,
right.
it's not a 2-acre lot, like generally in agriculture you are required.
And
Well,
so the
I guess
whole,
then it goes back to, that things are, to me, it's grandfathered. I mean,
But
this
they-
has been there forever. How long?
no, they're brand new. They're not
Oh,
they're
The
not-
shed and the chicken
Coop
coop are
and
new.
the
new.
shed are new.
new, so they're not grandfathered.
And there's no building, how big's the shed?
I don't have my scale with me.
If it's
but-
under 200 square feet, you wouldn't have needed a building permit.
It's under two, it's like 96 square feet.
Okay, so you wouldn't have been required to get a permit.
Additional variance is that right now the shed is not 10 feet from the property line, so I'm seeking a variance of that too. But largely, this whole thing is driven about the mere existence of the coop, and the shed was there too when Brian looked it over.
Yeah, and your comments relate to the structures
Structure.
being within the buffer area.
So yes, David.
So the regulations would allow and permit for a structure within that area, but not if it contributes to contamination of the surface water.
Correct.
That's explicit in the regulations. So I still come back to thinking that that's the issue that really needs to be looked at.
Am I reading the DES incorrectly? Did you
Not
read?
DES,
No,
our
no.
The
you're
town.
right.
The town.
Oh, the
Of the
town.
zoning
Okay.
ordinance.
Yeah.
Town.
But here's the, sorry.
Go ahead, Kim.
I guess here's what I'm mulling over is that we can't disallow the chickens, and because that's an allowed use. Well, what you said was you would have the chickens and feed them without the coop. And my concern then is if I'd rather see them fed in the coop instead of distribution through a feed out into your yard, which is definitely contributing to the duck issue. There's no way to permanently, that you can't say that whatever you throw out to your animals is only feeding your animals. And so if the coop is going to allow you to feed the animals in your coop and not throw the food out, I think we actually are looking at a structure that would reduce that potential. I don't see any way that, it is a structure, and I'm not sure that we need another structure in this area, but I guess that's my thought is it going to help control this issue?
Let me ask this, David, it looks like the arm of this fenced area goes closer to the water. Would you feel more comfortable if she moved her pen, meaning not her coop, but the fenced area reduced a bit?
We haven't been out there, we haven't seen the site, I don't know which way the water flows, I don't know where it goes.
Well, you can see there's next to the stream there.
It goes down the street.
Yeah, I know where the stream, I mean the drainage
The
from
stream goes away from the lake, we have the dam, and I guess it comes down.
What's the topography? What's the high ground?
The high ground is basically where the house is, and then it flattens out because unfortunately I understand, I have experienced it, that it floods. that the water comes up over, because the water comes
So
out.
it's relatively flat here
And then
behind
it
the house.
goes off into a big pond on the other side of the road.
I know, I suspect
I
that,
think they're working on that in 2 years, I understand. They are gonna do something, because I'm the only one affected by
well,
that.
but what I would say is, because I'm familiar with the area,
Yeah.
that where your little fence goes down, because it
Maybe.
does, that probably in the spring is a real flooded area there when we have a big spillover. So you may want to take, I'm going to call it the thumb of your
Yes.
fenced area. You may want to pull that back so that it's even with your house.
I actually planned on doing that once I went to the ZBA, and actually right now it's a very weak structure, and I did want to get a nice, strong fence. I have like a pen little area and just make a small square is pretty much what I
Because that would pull
planned.
it out of because the land does, the coop sits up high.
Exactly.
And then it's a flat area, and then it does dip way down.
So it would bring it it would bring it way before that little dot.
Right.
If I do that, it
Right.
would bring it way, just to give them a small additional area to walk out on. But definitely that was never my intention, was to keep that. It was just emergency.
I think that would satisfy David, and probably would be a good plan. Because that, in the spring, it'll flood anyway.
It will, yes. I understand it does.
Amy?
In addition to the food, though, if the chickens and animals are free range for just outside of grazing, is anyone else concerned with the waste and the phosphorus and the total nitrogen that will contribute to the stream and the lake?
I think that's what
That's
David
what
was
I've
getting,
been-
that's what
Because, yeah, I
David's
mean,
concern
even
is.
if you start feeding them in the coop, I mean, it's their waste that I'd be concerned with. I don't know, I haven't been in this area, so I don't know the size of the stream, the lake, the impact that the amount of animals there would have. But, I mean, Kimberly, that isn't anything you're thinking about with the nitrogen and
I
phosphorus?
am.
It's
I just also think,
zonal.
we're looking at the bylaws, and we were passing it back and forth, and the first or second listed use is for agriculture.
Right.
It's zoned agriculture. It's an allowed use in the conservation district. I'm not,
Yeah, but
But the
the
buff,
first,
but it's within the,
the section that lists all those things, the first part of it, 13.3.6, uses permitted in the wetland surface water conservation district. Following uses and structures shall be permitted in the WSWC district, provided that the use and structure does not cause increases in the contamination of surface or groundwater. That's the opening paragraph. And then below that, you have the things that are allowed, including,
I think we're
buildings or
getting into
whatever.
very dangerous territory to suggest that 9 chickens is going to contaminate this stream. I don't know that we have anything that, I don't know.
I don't know that it doesn't.
I think we need
I-
to focus
Open
on the
question.
coop and the shed. Because I think that's the issue. I mean, I know chickens will contaminate, but, yes, Susan?
I think the coop, because I've gone to look at, the coop is off the ground, so it's not like you have a concrete foundation which doesn't allow the water to seep into the soil, that's gonna cause issues. It's high, it's off the ground, it allows the water to go into the ground, it's movable, so it's not a permanent structure, so it seems like if we're gonna allow things in that outer 50 feet, it carries less harm than if it was a permanent structure with a cement base, whatever. And I'm gonna say also that the land itself slopes toward the stream. So there's, if there's any pollutants, they're not gonna go into the lake, because the water flows out of that dam,
Right.
through a gravel, I mean, it's almost like it's filtered, it's through a channel into the next pond, which, whatever, so it's not going directly into the lake. I mean, there's nothing going into the lake from that, so.
So,
I don't know, it's-
Kim, were you concerned, you mentioned buildings? Shed.
I mean, that's the only thing that we have to really fall back on is the structure. It's we would not allow a structure. That, the coop or the shed, we would not allow it this close in the buffer, really no matter what their uses are. I mean, maybe if we get a guarantee that this is for you to hold your furniture for a couple months or something, a hardship kind of thing, but really their structures, I mean, this just floods, every one of us know, you've seen it, it's floods, and so.
It only goes up to,
It goes under
to be
that
honest
porch.
with you, it never comes up into this area.
Right,
It goes as far as where the X is, and it doesn't go any further than that.
Yeah, well, we've had a lot
Even
of
in the
high
highest
storm
flood
events,
zone, because
so.
there's a flood line that my cousin, has been through the floods, and it never, ever even goes up near where the driveway is, and it doesn't even go up, and it actually never even goes up as far as the house structure, so to speak. on
The
that.
shed could actually be, the shed, again,
shed could
is at the
move.
100-foot section from the lake, but there's probably no way to get it exactly in excess of 50 feet from this side of the brook. We're darn close, but we're talking a couple feet. But if we put the shed there, then the coop is going to be just a little bit closer. If that's, but I've done it from across if you want the coop closer to your line, you probably want it far away from the line, I would imagine, if possible. So to, accommodate multiple
And I'm hoping
concerns
to
here.
put up a fence too, that'll help with the sound barrier, after that survey line is on there, because I just want privacy, and I'm not meaning to offend anyone, and everyone in the neighborhood has already told me, I have a little silky rooster, and I'm in the kitchen and I can barely hear him, and their structure of the house is probably 50 feet or more away where their house begins, so I'm not sure how loud the sound is over there, because they're bantams. And the lady across the lake, you could probably hear her rooster much louder than even mine at this point. They're bantams. They're not big roosters. And the silky's probably about this big. And that's my rooster that I've had.
So
Well,
Kimberly,
yeah, that's a,
And I'm willing,
I
if
don't
I
think
have
we
to remove the roosters.
So,
Need be.
Kimberly, we're talking the structures.
it seems like it's a structure that's very close to two water bodies.
But mine are further than 99% of the people on the lake. Most people on the lake have
But we
their
can't
sheds.
regulate those.
I know,
and
but
I'm
it's
sorry,
like
that's
saying,
just the
don't come to
process.
Goffstown, newbies, because you're not welcome here, because everyone else is allowed to have their sheds 10 feet, but I had no idea. I wouldn't have moved here. I would have stayed on Van Buren, where I was extremely happy. My chickens were happy, and nobody had a problem.
We don't want to make your chickens unhappy, but we're trying to.
I guess I see that as, what I think is two-pronged. I don't like the idea of a coop because it's a structure. And then I think, I don't know that we, as a commission, my personal opinion is I'm not sure that we can speak to the fact that there are chickens this close to the river, because I think we're playing a very dangerous game of trying to tell a homeowner that they can't have chickens in an agricultural zone, even if they're this close to the water body. I don't think, I just don't know how you would quantify that. I mean, yes, they are going to poop and it's going to go in there and it's going to go downstream, but so is the lady across the street, and so are the beavers and everything else. It's a very dangerous precedent for us to say.
We've got to focus on structures.
That's what I think. I mean, that's just my opinion. There's 7 other people here too.
David?
Well, the problem is that we're applying these zoning rules and regulations that were set out for very good reasons and very good purposes, but the situation is kind of odd. I mean, we're talking about it being in the agricultural zone, and when those regulations are being designed, I think people were thinking about a small lot on the side of the lake. They're thinking about
a residential.
Yeah.
Right.
We have the Wetland Conservation District, and of course that gets applied, but on the other hand, this is a very disturbed lot in that sense, and it's not like putting a shed there has any major ecological consequences. It's just a conflict of all these different things. That's what the whole ZBA process is for, is to try to make sense out of it when everything doesn't quite conform to what the original intentions were. So my personal opinion is the buildings don't concern me because I don't think the buildings themselves have much of an impact on conservation status or quality. My only concern would be the waste from the chickens themselves, and I don't know how much, I don't know how you quantify it, how many chickens causes a problem
I know, yeah.
in the stream and how many doesn't. I have no idea.
And David, because I live up in that area and I own a pond, and the field, it is interesting. The fields remain full of geese all winter long, and they've been doing this probably because we've been up there 25 years, and they've just increased over the last 10 years. We kept thinking, why aren't they going away for the winter? And just as I drove out here, this afternoon, I went by, and there I counted 66 geese on my little pond that then go over to the field. And the reason I mention them is because they circulate between my pond, Paul Welch's farm on Shirley Hill, and the Uncanunic lake. I mean, I know they have, because we all watch them. Where are they going? So when I think of a few chickens, the geese poops are much bigger than chicken poops, and they're so.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but
Okay.
I don't think just those few chickens I don't think are going to be making the impact that the beavers or these geese, and they stick around all. I mean, anyway.
We are asked to give a recommendation to the ZBA.
And what is our recommendation confined to? Just the physical buildings?
Physical
Physical
buildings.
buildings.
The Blackstone Code Enforcer Officer has requested of the owner that she remove both the chicken coop and the shed from the lot. And so they've come here to ask us before it goes to the ZBA.
Well, I think I'm with David, given the environment, I can't get very excited about a couple little sheds up there.
Can you make a motion?
I move that, what is the ZBA asking us?
They were asking us about the shed, because it's in the setback, the shed and the coop.
I move that our response to the ZBA is that the Conservation Commission has no problem with the sheds on the property.
And coop, shed and
Structures, okay.
Second.
Any other comments on that? David?
I agree with that, and we'll be voting for that, but I really feel like the wrong issue is before us. The issue here is not whether a couple small buildings are put into this lot, which is hardly a pristine piece of conservation land or anything like that. I think the real issue is, this is a tight cluster of residential houses on small lots clustered together around this pond. It's not
Well, you could put,
farmland.
Why don't we,
you could put in your,
I think-
you could say your
And that issue is not in
concerns.
front of us.
David, I think we need to add that concern within.
You could say, although we have concerns with maybe the use, we have no issues with the structures.
Or maybe we could request that the size of the flock get no bigger.
Oh, I think
that's good.
I think definitely you want to.
That we
Well,
do
on the other hand, is that
We have-
really?
I don't know
I don't think we can say that, but I think we can put in that we have concerns, like David just said. Do you want to add that to your concerns?
I hate putting stuff in there that's so vague.
We're not asking for the
It
number
is
of
vague.
lots, we just
You'd
want
have
them to know that.
specify it.
No,
We
you
just-
know what, we're supposed to deal with the buildings, and that's what we're supposed to deal
I
with.
would leave
And I think the
motion.
other
Let's
thing is
vote on
something
that
that
motion.
they'll
Let's
have to
second it.
deal
Let's
with.
vote on the motion as moved.
And she's heard all the concerns. Move.
You could say with
Vote on that
structures
motion that's
only.
moved
I don't,
without
Yes,
adding.
put-
How does it fit into the
Then
noise
we'll
ordinance?
come back and talk some more if that doesn't make it.
There's many other issues here.
all right,
Let's get this
David, what
taken care of.
did you say?
I'm sorry, we're side talking.
Kim,
Me, sorry.
David, did you want that added to, or?
You have no issues with the structures only,
No issues with the structures themselves, but
structures themselves. And that's,
I just don't think the right issues are being addressed.
You could put that in there, would you?
Well, that's pretty vague, though. That's
No, but I think we were being asked about the structures.
Let's just have
That's-
that motion. And Chuck made a motion, and it's been seconded?
no.
I
Susan-
second it.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Susan
second.
did.
So can we vote on that motion?
Yes, all those in favor?
And not add anything to it? Aye.
Okay, all those
Aye.
in favor?
Aye. I'm an A.
And opposed? Opposed.
How many in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4,
Who's opposed?
2. Okay.
And I didn't vote.
You didn't vote, and 1 abstain.
I can see this. Okay.
This is an approval board, this is just a recommendation.
This is only a recommendation.
Okay.
So the year when
Yeah,
you
all
go to
that in our
ZBA,
vote
we're the
doesn't mean
ones
that
that-
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Well, and it may be, you know, 'cause it is other issues. But they're not, I just, issues.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay.
Can open space be at this time? Or should we go down and wait a minute?
Oh,
David?
you know what, you wanna ask them to?
I
Should I-
don't
I'll
think
go-
it's not in non-public yet.
0, 0.
Let's do the finance and
Well,
budget.
no, but
No, this
the
is
cameras can
public
pick up what they're saying.
Right. Excuse me.
You know what, I think.
Thank you.
We're gonna support her.
What is the current ordinance on chickens? And is it gonna get revisited, you said too, isn't it?
I don't know what it is.
It just got changed
That's
at the
right.
last vote, yeah.
Well, I don't know what it got changed to,
Good question.
and whether it has any bearing on this or not.
Okay, David, open space. Do you have anything?
Yeah, Open Space Committee. So we've been working on a conservation easement project. The property is map 7, lot 90-1. We refer to it as the Fullerton Mahoney easement because it's jointly owned by the Fullerton and Mahoney families. It's 37 acres in the area just south of Snook Road. So let me just pass these out. I was printing these last night. My printer began to run out of yellow ink, so I stopped at 7 copies. So a couple of people may have to share.
We'll share.
We can share.
We can share too.
Well, here.
Is this the place you talked about last time, or is this different?
Thank you.
It's a different one.
Okay, so the first, on these 3 pages, the first page is just to give you a general location of where the property is located. You have Snook Road running across, and also proximity to other conservation lands in this area, namely the Forest easement and the Clark Farm. This easement is been under negotiation between the families and the Piscataqua Land Conservancy, which would be the holders of the easement.
Oh, I know this.
The second page is just an aerial photo, the ortho photo image. And you'll notice a couple of large wetlands. We actually, we have a number of our town's prime wetlands up in this one, so this will help protect prime wetland areas. This whole area is also very rich in wildlife. Everything from Snook Road on down. It's basically everything in there: moose, deer, fisher, fox, black bear, commonly observed in this area.
Is this the one that had the rookeries, the, No.
It's close to
Close?
this
Okay.
other large wetland
Okay.
to the right, to the east is where the great blue heron rookery is.
Right, okay.
But,
That's,
yeah,
but
this
you're
whole
still-
this whole complex of wetlands is
wonderful.
protected prime wetland area.
Mm.
And also, I'd like to point out that in the Goffstown master plan, it's one of the few references to conservation in the master plan is to try to preserve the lands that go north of North Mast up to Snook Road, because this is discharge area for the aquifer, for the town's water supply. A lot of that also comes from the river itself, but this area all slopes down and drains into that area. So it's always, I think in the previous master plan, it was also noted for that as well. I'll have to double check on that. It's been a while since I read the old one. So it meets the criteria for our open space plan on many different accounts. Protecting the prime wetlands, protecting wildlife habitat, helping to protect the general drainage to our town aquifer. The final page is an estimate of the expenses for this project. The value of the conservation easement is completely being donated to the PLC. There's no expense to purchase the easement. All we're looking to do is use money from our land use change tax conservation fund to pay for the expenses to facilitate this. And so most of these are estimates because the work isn't complete yet, but they're pretty good estimates for survey work. 3,500 tile examination, probably be around 500. Environmental assessment, which is always required on easements to make sure that there are no previous landfills or dumps or other things like that. Baseline documentation are the documents that a thorough survey that's done before the easement, so that all subsequent stewardship inspections have a reference point so that you can say, yes, there's an encroachment because that wasn't there before, this building came in or whatnot. You just have to have a baseline that you set when you start the easement process. Appraisal, again, estimate. Stewardship contribution, that's a fixed amount, as is the project management fee. And recording fees are an estimate. They're pretty easy to estimate from a formula. So the total cost for this project we project to be $19,950. By the time we get to the final public hearing where we would make a vote to accept it, it could end up being a bit more, some are short, but I wouldn't expect by much. It's pretty consistent with the easements that we've done in the past in terms of expenses. So I guess what I'm really looking for tonight is to, this isn't our official public hearing on the project or anything like that, because we have to get to that point. We have to have all more of the work done and before we're ready to vote, and have a notice of public hearing to vote to expend funds. But what I am asking of the committee is if you would vote whether or not I should continue to work with PLC on this to drive this easement to completion. What we would like to try to do, because this has been moving fairly quickly, if you do...
Is this the fellow that's sick? And
No.
I hope
No.
Yeah, right, okay. I didn't think so, okay.
Nothing.
Wait, this is private, this is not.
This is the easement with the Fullerton and Mahoney family.
Okay.
What I'm asking for is the vote to whether we would continue to do the work to close the easement. The schedule that we're trying to work towards is possibly having the public hearing and the vote to approve the funds as early as our November 20th meeting next month. It looks like we are on track to be able to reach that goal.
So
Followed by 2 hearings with the Board of Selectmen, probably not the immediately week after that, because that's right before Thanksgiving, and that's not a really good time for anybody, but maybe the first 2 Monday meetings in December. Because the Selectmen always hold 2 hearings, one where the...
They have to be a week apart.
Yeah, a week apart. I think it'd be like the
Okay.
4th and 10th or something like that. Or no.
No, they have to be, you have to skip a week. Have to be more than 10 days. No less than 7, no. you can't do them, you could do it one Monday, then you skip the next Monday, you have your second hearing the third week.
I thought the requirement was just on your list of the ad. In that case, we might want to go for that last week in November, before Thanksgiving. It's not a
And then we
problem.
can make the decision 2 weeks after that second meeting.
So we were sort of tentatively looking to try to get it done by the 9th.
Right now, we need a vote for somebody to make a motion that David continues.
Somebody else want to make a motion? Oh, there you go.
I move that we continue to move forward with proposed Fullerton conservation easement.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
This is a lovely area.
It
And
is
do you
a
want to
beautiful
schedule a
area.
public hearing then? Because that's something I'll have to advertise.
Yes, we would like to schedule.
And that's also changing a meeting date, because normally you're scheduled before Thanksgiving.
That's, yes, we had to discuss that tonight when our next meeting would be, because the 20th is the third Wednesday, not the 4th.
And have a public hearing scheduled, do you want to add that to it on the 20th?
So I was being a little presumptuous when I said our
Yes,
next
I saw.
meeting of the 20th, because we hadn't actually decided that.
So
well.
November 20th.
November 20th?
November 20th.
We'll also be having a conservation meeting.
Conservation meeting will be that night.
Yeah.
Do you need something for December too, David, or no? Because that's the other issue, is normally we would be meeting on Christmas. Do you want a
No,
meeting in
we only-
December?
Did you say
Once
November
we've
20th?
had our
Yes.
vote, our public hearing, then
Is that right
after
before
that,
Thanksgiving?
it's with the selectmen.
The night before?
It's a
So
week.
it would impact the Conservation
20th.
Commission's
Okay.
December meeting.
Okay.
Thanksgiving is.
And I wanted to, I was also going to bring up, does the conservation want to meet in December? Do you want to change it to one of the other dates? It would be the 4th, 11th, or 18th.
Can we see what we have from?
Yep, we can wait until
See
November.
what we have for
Yep.
things coming in? And
Okay.
you can let us know. Yeah,
Mhm.
okay. Okay, thank you, David. We need to vote on, I'm just going to skip over financing. Need to vote on payment of New Hampshire Association Conservation Commission dues for $550.
Wow. They just keep going.
That
up and
came
up.
up, and also you should go over the $700 that was
Okay.
paid.
Let's vote on this.
Do we
Can
need a motion to,
Yeah, we'll need a motion.
do you want separate motions? A motion to pay, I move that we pay New Hampshire Association Conservation Commission dues of $550. I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We need to go back to the milfoil, $700 for the milfoil treatment to the river that recently. Do we need to make a motion on that?
I think so, you know.
Do we need to make a
signed the
motion to
contract.
pay the diver?
The diver. Mhm.
700. Sure, can I put the 300 right in that too?
700.
Let me do
You have
this
to
one.
talk to them first.
Okay, let me
with
do
that
this. Can we need a motion on the 700?
So move.
Seconded?
I'll second.
Okay. We had that $1,000, and we spent 700 of it, leaving 300. I did speak to the diver, Larry, and he could go back and do something for the 300 in that same area, check to see what was disturbed maybe during the regatta, and then just continue up in that area, if that's everybody's wishes to continue. And
Because the money doesn't roll over,
the
right?
money does not
No.
roll over.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Does it make sense to, there was one small pocket up by the hardware store. Would it make sense to let him take care of that one? Because that's upstream. So
That's all
it's gonna, if
continued,
it's
yeah.
disturbed by anybody else's boats going in, it's gonna break up and move downstream. So if that's the highest point that we have
Well,
noted.
David says it's all.
There's more.
There's more up there.
Oh,
Way
It's all the
more.
way up the river. That's as far as she did when she was.
but isn't that where it is by the hardware store? Isn't that a boat, isn't that an access into that mill
Yeah,
pond?
that probably is more likely to be disturbed, but
Right, that's what I'm
after we
thinking,
had this
that's-
meeting before, I went paddleboarding up the river, and the first, passing even that, the first major oxbow that you come off
Oh,
the
yeah.
channel to the north, which is rather large, is completely filled with it. And so I noted that on an image and emailed that
To her.
Amy. But it's not included in any of these proposals. I mean,
Just
there's
that
going to have to be
small.
more survey work done, because I just looked in that one. I didn't look in every oxbow going up to the New Boston line. And then what's beyond that?
Should $300 towards the
It's not
area
gonna be a
shown.
lot.
Well, that's, I mean, that's I'm thinking.
Start
That's
there.
a very small area, that maybe he can totally do that small area.
I don't know.
It looks small on the
When I
map.
spoke to him, he was kind of interested to see what had been disturbed after Regatta. I mean, to just see, to go back into that same area and just work that and see what it was. He thought he saw some boats get caught up in some, I don't know.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, he saw some things get
On
caught.
the other side.
On the other side.
When they were going in to put stuff in for the regatta,
he
someone's
was
boat died because it got all tangled up in it.
So, he was gonna check that out.
Whatever.
I know what you're saying. It would seem that you'd start, but
So to use the rest of it as I'm gonna,
to use the rest of it as,
Yes.
okay.
So moved.
Susan Tucker, second.
okay,
All in favor?
I think that's what
Aye.
it's proposed. Okay.
Can I ask about the emails that we've been getting from Amy Smagula that said that it's time to get some, are you doing that right now?
No,
I didn't know, is this association getting busy with that? Those are.
They were on the email too. I don't
Grants.
know. I don't know if
I
someone
think you
wants
and I were
to
the
talk
only
to them.
ones that got that, maybe.
Really?
Well, I don't know, but maybe
I sent it
She
to
had
everybody.
everything
Okay.
all outlined, and
Okay,
she had mapping and, I mean, everything. So was it the association that's supposed to
We're hoping that
apply? Yeah, but we should have
November
a
15th?
contact with the association. And I think Patty, didn't they know that they're supposed to, but that, let me see which one?
we were just discussing that.
Okay, I'll look, I've got it right here, so. We were the only ones?
No.
No, I saw it. Patty
You
did
did,
forward it.
yeah.
Yes.
Forwarded
So-
to us.
Yep.
Oh, she forwarded afterwards, we got it from Amy.
More to explore.
The question is, she
It's
made
November
it pretty
15th.
plain that it should be done, what was it?
And by the November 15th, and if it isn't done, your name is removed from the grant
Right.
list.
November 15th.
It's right here.
All right. Oh, you've got a copy?
And we,
We all
The
got it.
association
and
should
we
be
were
doing
hoping,
this.
and we were
Well,
hoping
it's in your
that
packet.
the association would,
Okay.
it was in our packet.
Can we have Patty contact the association to see if they are applying for this, or if they need any assistance?
And who's gonna give them the assistance?
If you read through this, it's fairly simple.
Yeah, we were just,
There's the two herbicide treatment companies, and then there's a listing of the divers. And her directions are basically to send these maps to those contractors, requesting bids. The contractors send the bids directly to Amy. She provides her email address, and that's it. That's all that's required, just to get,
And I
the
can do an
range of
email and ask them to
costs.
follow up and follow through with her directions, because that's part of what was supposed to be going on, is they're the ones that are supposed to be doing.
You don't have the whole
isn't
we,
any other paperwork, there's no application.
Yeah, that's really straightforward.
Very simple.
All right. I would say, though, that we need to contact them and then
make sure.
Make sure they're following up.
make sure that, yes, and you're saying there's next, I don't know, I brought all my papers in, and they said it's the stuff that was on the desk, and I'm now, can't find that. But we have to make sure that that gets in, either that they get it in, or we assist them to get it in.
Okay.
That's what I think.
We were just talking about that. I didn't see Larry's name on here as a diaper, was he?
Not, that was done assisted with the, diving with the machines.
Here it is.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
okay.
dash.
So he's
Dash.
Suction.
the-
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I think that's probably a good move on, because we
I
gotta
wanna-
make sure they.
Oh, it has, yeah, we can't, I think they're actually jumping on things, but I don't think we can let this,
And she'll
especially-
probably react, because she was on the email, the president was.
I think she'll be very good. Yes, she was wonderful. She showed up Saturday to help out, and she was really, I think she's on top of things. Now, we had several other people that came up that said, we've been trying to become involved with the association, which we handed them the sheet that you had, the contacts. But I think because she's been busy with setting it up, they haven't really made a lot of contacts, but I think that it's really important to get this in so that we can be.
Get the grant.
Yeah, right.
And if you look at the maps that she has,
Yeah.
in the corner for each one, this is for the dash, it actually has directions to the contractors on how many
Oh.
days,
Right.
what the bid should include,
Oh
and
my
the other,
gosh.
the second one is for the herbicide treatment, and again, she has how many
She's
acres,
awesome.
what days.
Yeah, so she's, I mean.
So
there's
It's a
actually,
matter of just getting this
actually,
to the
all they have to
contract.
do is send it out to those people.
Contractors.
So what we're
Contractors.
surprised is that she didn't give us a self-addressed envelope with a stamp.
Well, you can email it.
Oh,
You don't even
okay,
have
there
to.
you go, all right.
But I think that should come from from the association
It
asking
should,
them. It
but I
should
think-
come from
I
the
think
town.
This first time.
It would be a good idea. No, I think we should keep contact all the time, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
think it's a good
Contact, but
idea.
it's going to be
If you
the
don't mind,
association,
Patty.
like the Maskey
Yes.
Lake is doing their
Yes,
work.
yeah, but make sure, call and see if they've done this. Okay.
Okay.
No, haven't
But I want to go
done
back to open space, if I can. The CD's coming up, David, in November. Do you,
The what?
it.
or
CD.
6-month CD?
Oh,
Do you need money from that, or I need to know what we're doing? I need to give him directions of whether we're going to roll it again for another 6 months, or you need
well,
money taken out?
outside of the CD, we have how much? We have
Yeah.
144,000 in the 6-month CD, but not all the fund is in the CD, correct?
Correct,
Correct.
correct.
Well, it says the CD is 324,000.
Yeah, and there's interest earned, that's just the amount that was put into it, I don't have the,
But the current use fund is 144,000.
so is the 144 enough for you to, I'm asking, does the commission want to extend it another 6 months and just use?
Yeah, no, actually, it's a very good question. Well, for this upcoming project, I mean, we have a budget estimate that's under 20,000.
Under 20,000.
You know, we take a margin of safety, but other projects could
But
move
I was gonna
forward
say-
within the 6-month period, so we need to,
I think we'd be better off not to
Keep
roll
some,
it over, to keep it, and then, in 6 months, we can always start another,
How
start it
close are
up.
we though, David?
well, there is negotiations underway with some other landowners.
Right.
And in those cases, we are looking again at donated easements, so you
They
would look
donated.
at expenses that are in
Right.
under $30,000 for a whole project.
So you don't have any major expenses
I
coming up
don't
in the
have
next
any,
6 months?
no, not in the next 6 months. If there was something that required, a bigger project that required more funding, it would probably have grants associated with it and be a more complicated and
Take more
longer
than 6
process.
months.
Take longer. Take more than 6 months.
Beyond 6 months, so
It sounds like we ought to roll it over.
We should roll it over.
Right. So say, roll it over, how much are we making on it anyway?
again, I just want to clarify, if we roll it, the current balance is 144, amount in the CD is 324. So if we roll the CD, there's still 144
Right,
accessible,
right.
which is probably more than we need to have accessible,
Right.
actually.
He does pretty well on these CDs that he does for these 6 months. It's amazing how much more he's
really?
getting than what we
Oh,
got
okay.
before.
All right.
1.7 instead of 0.2.
Right, exactly.
What was it? What was it?
I don't know, it's still a really tiny
I
number.
know,
It's just a lot bigger than the other one.
It's just a lot bigger than the other one.
Right.
So you want to make a motion to, he
You
finds the
wanna
best
roll it
interest
over
rate
again?
again for another 6
Somebody-
months?
Second, who made it?
But-
David wants to
but for the amount that's currently in the
The
CD.
324, which is now
And
increased to
seconded.
something
Right.
else.
Amy seconded. Okay.
Or, I second.
I second.
You, I did. Somebody did. Okay, update on milfoil. We just discussed milfoil and
We seconded, but you didn't vote.
Oh, yeah.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're trying to get through this. Milfoil, I guess we just discussed what happened, and
Yep.
I think it was pretty successful. People seemed interested, and
Did you like the booth?
I did like the booth. David did a great job tying things up, and
You guys had the win. We didn't.
had the win.
We didn't have as bad as they did. Yeah, they kept flopping over, but I heard they did a great job.
They had them all
That's
tied up. Looked like
great.
a
But
spider
I thought
webs.
it was well, the weather was wonderful. It was a great, I think,
We- We couldn't have done it if you had you not bequeathed us that nice ball of string.
We were kidding that we said the
Yes,
stock
thank
in
you very much
spring
to
was going
Patty
to go
for
up.
getting everything together.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
thank you, Patty, for all
Yeah,
that.
lots of project.
Okay.
Great though, she showed up in the, morning and the
Yeah.
evening? I mean, you were there, actually, and she kept checking on us throughout the day too. It wasn't, so.
And the milfoil in the jar was good too. A lot
Oh.
of people were
was
interested in
good.
actually seeing it.
I was putting that in everybody's face. See, and then bright green is the stuff that just grew the last couple of days, yeah. Which they were all really, whoa.
It went
And
well.
It really
Okay,
did, yeah.
the minutes.
Minutes.
Anyone make changes, or?
There's something I'd like changed in the non-public minutes, but we can't exactly discuss them, so.
Oh, the non-public ones?
Okay.
We'll have to
Want
do
to
that.
go back to that, or you?
He's non-public.
Well, it's non-public minutes, so
Non-public,
can you discuss what
non-public.
you wanted to have changed?
Okay. Well, we gotta go into non-public then, to,
To do it.
okay.
All right,
Do you want to go into non-public now?
well, if we're done with everything else.
You say that to the end and accept the minutes.
No, we
That are
can't
non-
because he has something
are
he'd like.
No, we can accept the other
But it
minutes.
We
was-
can
the
accept
other
it, we
part.
can do the other
Public
minutes,
Minutes.
and then go to the non-public. Do the non-public right at the end.
Yeah, we still
Why
have
don't
to
we do
come
it right
out
at
and
the end
formally
after
vote
we
when you come
turn-
out of adjourning.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, the regular September 24th minutes. Any motion on accepting them, or?
Accept them as written.
Did he just make a
Did you
motion?
make a motion?
Great.
Hit
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain.
Okay. Any opposed? We'll do non-public at the end of the meeting. Okay, recommendations for the sidewalk, map 4, lot 50, 68, and 69 subdivision, a lot line adjustment, correct one of the, creating one of the lots for George Dick Perkins, Bog Road, zoned agricultural 1. Susan and I did that one, and I think we sent in our recommendations, and we felt that it was an agricultural swale that they were going to put in the, and fill it to make the driveway.
You said it was in the best location,
It was in the best location, yeah.
and you didn't have any concerns.
We had no concerns. So we don't have to vote on that.
I don't, no,
No,
no, I think that's.
No,
you
that's fine.
sent your comments.
We sent our comments on, okay, we have, one,
Well, then Chuck and I did a site walk.
that's right, we don't have that one. Do we?
That I
we did-
forwarded to as well, and
Okay.
you didn't have any concerns.
There was
No
no
areas
concerns.
of concern either.
Okay, and you said we had one schedule, let's see.
The only, well, you have one DES letter.
One DES letter,
And
yes,
then Plans.
for shoreline setback on 53 Shirley Hill Road. Owned by the Millers. Is that,
Oh, yeah, you wrote one.
yeah, I know, that's,
I kept looking for all this thing, boy, am I out of it today?
What I got today.
Yeah. This is something different, this is not to do with that. That was just the state's working with them on how to rectify their deck that they put.
Oh, no?
this is just a
No.
deck, right?
Yeah, well, they have a cover, they have to remove the covering. There's the letters in your
I saw that, I
correspondence.
read that,
How would nothing be stupid?
This is, going for the planning board, second Thursday in November.
I'm going
It's just a
shuffling
small
all
lot
this
line adjustment, part
Oh,
of
you should.
just technical review. You make comments if you have any issues. I can't imagine you would.
She updated it. We updated it.
And there was,
What's being adjusted?
It's that little triangle.
Map 9, lot 6
Oh, that
and
little
7.
triangle by
little
the brook,
triangle
by the
right
road?
here.
Oh,
lot
and
line.
what do we,
Okay.
Lot line adjustment, that little tiny
to
triangle
allow
way
it
up.
to do
Yeah.
what?
That's
Move
it. But part of technical review, it's coming to you.
So,
I assume you'd have no issues or concerns?
I was just gonna say, do we have any issues of concerns, or? Okay.
what is?
Probably didn't make sense to have the lot going across the street, thus it's going to
Okay,
the
so
lot
they're-
that abuts.
They're changing.
They're changing the
Go
law.
to go to the person on this.
Yeah,
one.
I had to read it for a minute
Oh,
to
that's
get
funny.
that, but this lot's increasing, so
This is,
I'm assuming that's
By
what
the
it
looks
is.
of this wall, this is
Parcel
existing
A
before.
is to be taken from Assessor's Map 9, Lot 73, and consolidate it with
yeah,
Lot 6,
They own both lots.
and not to be considered a separate building lot.
Okay,
all right, so
okay.
we haven't,
So that's it.
any, a motion? Yeah, a motion, oh, we take it away from them.
No issues of concern?
Okay,
I
second,
second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, just got that one, Patty?
Yep.
And, is that the whole, no, we got one more, that was it,
One more.
that's it, right?
Should be it.
Ball game.
Okay.
Just texting.
Oh, are they playing tonight?
Well, now we're gonna vote on the going to
We've got to
non-public.
go into
which I don't know
non-public.
if I
Let's do
have
that.
that for-
Somebody wanna make a motion for
Yeah.
non-public?
I
Wait a
move we
minute.
go into non-public session.
We gotta do a roll call,
And
right?
do
A
we
roll
make the motion,
We
then
just,
do-
we don't know what RSA when you're fixing minutes that were in non-public.
so, they made a motion
You
to
can
go
do
into
it.
non-public, now we do the roll call.
Okay, aye. Kimberly Peace,
It would be
aye.
the same under land.
David
Under
Lehman,
land,
aye.
real estate, I'll quote the same one.
Social discussion.
Dad, did you have to go on that?
No.
Jean
I'm a
Walker?
staffer.
Aye.
Chuck Freiberger, aye.
Susan Tucker, aye.
Amy Pollock, aye.
Evelyn Miller, aye.
What's the RSA?
Okay, David?
You want the recording off?
We gotta-